This is a training session regarding entering and processing cash receipts. Cash receipts are entered into the system by selecting Receipts from the Accounts Receivable menu. This window allows us to create receipt batches and enter and process receipts using those batches. On the left-hand side is a list of available receipt batches. We can enter a new batch by clicking the Insert button. Here we can set the attributes of our new batch. The system assigns the batch number and inserts our user ID. We give the batch a name and indicate whether other people will be able to use the batch. Here you can enter a default cash account for the batch. If you leave the field empty, the receipts will automatically be applied to your default cash account. This box lets you set your preference for repetitive insert. When you have finished entering a receipt and click the OK button, the system can either close the Receipts Entry window and return to the main batch entry window, or, if this box is checked, it can clear the fields and prepare the entry window for the entry of another receipt. Place a tick in this box to turn on repetitive insert. Now we have a batch we can use for our receipts. On the right-hand side is a list of the cash receipts which have been entered into the highlighted batch, but not yet posted. On the left are buttons we can use to prooflist and post the receipts. To enter a new receipt, we click this Insert button, and the system asks us whether we are entering a receipt to be applied to an invoice or a miscellaneous receipt. That is, a receipt for which there is no invoice. We will first tackle the invoice and billing receipt. The system now displays a window that lets us enter the number or name of the customer from whom we have received the payment. Then the system will ask for a deposit reference number. This can be the number of the bank deposit slip used to deposit this check. The system will display the default cash account and accounts receivable account, and today's date for the receipt date. This date may be changed if you wish. We now type in the number of the check received from the customer. If the customer paid using a credit card, we can either enter the word card, or we can click this button to process the credit card through the system. For more information on processing credit cards, review the credit card training session. Here, we indicate whether this is a job billing receipt. Let me explain. Progress billings and time and material invoices, which have been posted to the system, all have a job number tied to the invoice. If this receipt is for one of those types of invoices, tick the Job Billing Receipt checkbox and enter the appropriate job number. The system will display only invoices posted to that particular job. Otherwise, the system will show all this customer's open invoices. In this example, we are going to indicate that this is a job billing receipt. We now enter the dollar amount received from the customer, and of that dollar amount, how much, if any, will pay for retention. Let me digress a moment and say a word about this retention field. There are two ways of billing for retention using JobView. The first, and preferred method, is to create what we call a final retention billing. This billing type will remove the retention amounts from the posted progress billings and create a retention billing to replace those amounts. The final retention billing then shows up as a separate invoice on the aging report and in this receipts entry window. The second way of receiving retention is to simply indicate that the retention amounts have been received right here in receipts entry. Using this method does not require the creation of a final retention billing at all. Now we'll return to this retention payment field. If retention amounts have been billed using a final retention billing, do not enter a retention amount in this field. This field is only used when reconciling retention using the second method I just mentioned. If you have created a final retention billing, it will appear separately in the invoice list below, and you will apply a regular receipt amount to it. Now we come to the process of allocating the received amounts to one or more invoices. The system has the ability to automatically apportion the amount received to invoices in the list. Here's what it does. It first looks for any invoice with an open amount that matches the amount entered in this amount received field. If a match is found, the payment is applied to this invoice. If a match is not found, the system starts with the oldest invoice in the list and begins applying the amount received to the oldest, then the second oldest, and so on, until the entire amount received has been reconciled. In most cases, this method will speed up your entry process. Sometimes, however, it may get in the way. If the automatic reconciliation places payments on the wrong invoices, it becomes necessary for you to double-click on each invoice one by one and remove the reconciled amount. We have provided a different way of reconciling that may be more appropriate for your situation. In this case, I will not enter an amount in the Amount Received field. Instead, I will first double-click on the invoices that will be reconciled by this receipt, one by one. Each one will receive a full reconciliation payment. Once I've indicated which invoices will be reconciled by this receipt, the correct total receipt amount should show in this totaling field. I then click this button to have the system automatically place that total amount in the Amount Received field. Once we've entered our amounts, we can inspect the invoice list. If the amount has been applied to the correct invoice or invoices, we can click the OK button and complete our entry. Otherwise, we can double-click on any line item and edit the received amount and retention amount fields for this invoice. At the bottom of these two columns are totals for the amounts reconciled. If the total amount reconciled does not match the amount entered at the top of the window, there will be a number in this Not Yet Reconciled field. If we click on the OK button, the system will warn us that we have not applied the entire amount of our received payment to invoices. Once we've made sure that we have applied our full receipt and that we have zeros in these Not Yet Reconciled fields, we can safely click the OK button. We have now properly entered our receipt. We now see the receipt we entered in the list box. The second type of receipt is a miscellaneous receipt, which will not be reconciled to any invoice at all. In order to enter this type of receipt, we click the Insert button and select Miscellaneous Receipt. The source of a miscellaneous receipt is frequently someone who is not in our customer list. If this is the case, we select the Non-Customer radio button and enter into the field the name of the individual or company who sent us the money. Otherwise, we select the Existing Customer radio button and then use our customer entry fields to select the customer who we received the money from. As a courtesy, the system will quickly look and see if there are any outstanding invoices to this customer. If there are, the system will flash this window showing those invoices and ask us to confirm whether we really want to enter a miscellaneous receipt when the customer owes us money on existing invoices. We can now enter the same type of information we entered in the Other Receipts entry window, including the amount received, the deposit reference number, the checking account, the receipt date, and the check number. In this case, however, there is no list box showing invoices to which we can apply this payment, because we are not going to apply this receipt to an invoice. For this reason, we are required to indicate whether we are going to credit this amount to a general ledger account or to a job. We indicate the account number or job number here. We then click the OK button, and this receipt is listed in the browse box as well. We can now print a proof listing of our receipts by tagging the receipt batch and clicking the Proof List Tagged Receipts button. Usually, we don't set any special limits for a proof listing. Just click the Print button and view the listing. If there are any entry errors, simply highlight the desired receipt, click the Change button, and make any necessary changes. If we want to print a hard copy receipt to give to the customer, we can do so easily by clicking this Print Receipt button. We can now print the receipt or email it. We can also print a deposit ticket to help with depositing this batch of receipts at the bank. Tag the batch and click the Deposit Ticket button. Select whether you want to print the deposit slip on blank paper or on a pre-printed form. You can purchase pre-printed deposit ticket forms through A-Systems Forms or another supplier. We can now finish our entry by clicking the Post Receipts button. The system will ask us to confirm or change the fiscal period and posting date. We now press the Post button. The system will post our receipts and print our receipts posting reports. At the end of the posting, we're given one last chance to review and verify the accuracy of our reports. If they are accurate, we can click the Finish button. If not, we can click the Undo button, and the data will return to the state it was in prior to clicking the Posting button. This concludes this training session on entering and processing accounts receivable receipts.